Not too long ago, a friend of mine sent me this picture of her friend's son. This is Aaron. Asked if I could design and create a character of Aaron. And after battling migraines and the flu, I was finally able to complete this. And we're going to get started. Because it is quite complicated and very advanced, I'm going to break this tutorial into two. And we're going to start with the wheelchair. And we'll start with the wheels. And after quite some time and many variations of coming up with a design for the wheel, I remembered that quite some time ago, probably in February or March of last year, I had followed the snowflake design made by Mommy, and I realized that this would be a much better rendition than I had for my wheel. My wheel is inspired by the snowflake from Made by Mommy. And we're going to get started. This is the design that I've come up with. And if I can separate the character from the back here, I'll show you just the wheelchair, which is what we're going to be working on today. Okay, so this is just the wheelchair, and what I've done is I've incorporated a bent paperclip to help support the chair. It will stand up kind of sort of on its own, but for more stability I've used the bent paperclip. And we're going to start by making a wheel, and for that we're going to need two standard rainbow looms, and we need to configure these into a 5-pin offset configuration. And we're going to separate the looms. I'm not sure if there is one right way to connect the pins together to be one 5-pin loom or not, but I'll do my best here. So I've separated my pins, and I'm going to take one out. And what I'm going to do first is take a small pin, and I will start with the outside edge, and I'm going to making sure that I have it offset. I just actually want the red arrow to be in the center. I'm switching these pins around like that, and then I'm going to come down to the bottom, and I will add the smaller attachment piece. And then going down the right side, also in an offset. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take one of the larger bars, and I'm going to place it over these three at the top. And we'll need a smaller one for these at the bottom. Okay, now I'm just going to press and make sure they're tight. And for the wheel, we are going to need black bands, clear bands, and C-clips. Actually, we won't need the C-clips just yet. We'll be using those to attach the character. Before we start banding the loom, I'd like to let you know that I'm numbering these pins row 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So when we're banding, if you could pay attention to what I'm saying and where the bands are going. It's not as hard as it looks, so if you can just follow along, and you can pause and rewind and slow it down if you like. but we are going to start with the top center peg and put a black band from the first to the second, a black band from the second peg on the third row to the second peg on the second row, and a black band from the second peg on the third row to the second peg on the fourth row. And we're just going to go around the outside. So this is going to be our fourth band and our fifth band. And again, we're using single black bands. 6, 7 is going from the fourth peg on the fifth row to the fifth peg on the fourth row. 8 goes down to the center. 9 will go over to the second row. 10 is going over to the first row. 11 will go up the first row. And 12. And we're going to join these together with band number 13. Now, we're moving on to clear bands. And from the second peg on the second row down to the third peg on the second row, we'll put a clear band. And we're just going to go around again, making V shapes with our clear bands along the outside. So from every peg on the outside, you want it to go to the next peg along. So this is band number 19 altogether. And then 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 is going to go from the fifth peg on the fourth row, or fifth peg on the third row. Band number 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31. And I'm just going to pause here so you can check that your loom looks like mine. A black outer ring followed by little V's, or if you want to count the center peg and 3 leading to it, little bird feet or whatever they are. Next we're going to move on to the center, and we'll start from the third peg on the second row and go over to the third peg on the third row. And again, we're just going to go around, placing little V's or little bird feet all the way around. This is band 35. This is band 36. 37 goes to the center. 38. 39, 40, 41, 42, 43 is our last band going to the center, and we are going to cap this center peg with a single black band wrapped 3 times around the peg. I'm going to take a single black band, wrap it 3 times around my hook, and I will just stretch it over that center peg. Now, for looping this, all we need to do is reverse the order that we just attached the bands. I'm going to reach through the cap band and grab the top black band, making sure we're only grabbing 1 single black band, and we're going to loop it to the outside of the center. Next, we want to grab the single black band from this peg, and it's going to go down. Because we want all of our bands leading out, we want to reach in and grab the top band and loop it to the outside, and then we can reach inside, grab the top band and loop it around the outside. We're going to go back to the inside, grab the top black band, and it is going to loop down, and then we'll go here in the center, and loop the single black band around the outside. Again, we'll go back to the center and loop to the outside and around the inner circle, back to the center, grab the top black band and loop it to the outside. Again, the outside one goes around, back to the center, looping straight forward. Now we can go around the outside, and next we are going to want to reach in and grab the top clear band, which is going to go to the outside. The next, this one goes here. We also want these ones to go to the outside, so we're going to go to the inside peg and loop to the outside. Again, to the inside peg, loop to the outside, and we're just grabbing the top band and looping it to the peg that it needs to be directed to. And again, this one will go down, the next one will go out, reaching in again, grabbing top clear band and loop to the outside, the next clear band, loop to the outside, reaching in again, clear band to the outside. Again, we're working with the single clear bands and looping them all to the outside peg. Next, we want to go in here and loop to there, and then we are going to reach in, grab a single black band, and it will loop over to the left, reaching in again. And I know this is a little backwards from what we're normally used to looping, but in order to make sure that we are collecting and looping all of the bands so that they stay, so that they do get looped and they stay within our design, we need to loop kind of a little backwards for a bit. Again, we're going to be reaching in, grabbing a bottom band and looping around. Now I realized as I was making the first tire for the wheelchair that if you wanted a thicker, more off-road tire, you could very easily put 2 bands for the black outside. Then we're going to loop there. Next we want to go over here and loop to the center. And finally, for this last band, this is going to be our slip knot band. So we want to grab a hold of our band and just form our slip knot. And before we remove this from the loom, we want to look in and check and make sure that we've looped all the bands. And you want to make sure you've got all of your raindrop shapes. And it's usually fairly easy to tell if you look down through the side of your loom if you've missed a band or not. So I think this is good to go, and we can remove this from the loom. And I'm starting at the bottom as I usually do and loop up. Move the dog hairs. I promise you, my dog does not play with my bands, but somehow, despite my best efforts, I usually find a stray hair here and there. Okay, so there we have it. This is our second tire or wheel for our wheelchair. And what we're going to do, we need to secure this band in the back. So all we're going to do is take our hook, weave it through, grab a black band, and tuck it out of sight. Just by weaving it through a couple of spots in the back. Like that. And there you have it. I haven't woven this wheel yet. Just put my hook through a couple of bands. Grab a hold of this black one, and we will loop it through. There we go. And there you go. So here are our two wheels, and we are going to set these aside. You need to make two, so rewind the video and make another one, and we will set these aside and move on to our chair. And for the chair, we're going to need just a standard rainbow loom in the aligned position. I'm going to grab some of these pegs and put my standard rainbow loom back together in an aligned configuration where all the pins are even with each other. For the chair, I am using the brown that comes in the camouflage pack, and what we need to do, we're going to be using double bands, and we want to start at the top in the center, and we're going to loom 2 to the center, 2 to the outside, to the left, and 2 to the outside to the right. And now we want to go down 4 times with 2 brown bands each time. We're going to do that down the center as well. 2 brown bands, 4 times going down the center. And as well on the right, 2 brown bands, 4 times going down the right. And I want to try something differently for this than I did for my original chair. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the seat now, whereas before I had done it separately. But I want to see if I can't make this work by doing it all together. So we need to go down 3 times with 2 brown bands each time. So you want to have gone down a total of 7 times down your loom on each row. I'm just going to straighten these bands. And again, we're going to add 3 sets of 2 brown bands to the right side. And at the bottom, we want to put 2 brown bands from the center to the left and 2 brown bands from the center to the right. And for the holding bands, we are going to place a single brown band around each of these pegs going across. Like this. And for the bottom, we want to place a cap band on the center peg here, and we're going to wrap this single brown band 3 times going around the center. And now we're ready to loop, and what we're going to do is we're going to reach in, and you know what, as I'm doing this, I'm wondering if I shouldn't attach the wheels before I loop. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, but we'll see. I think I might attempt to attach my wheels before we loop. And what we're going to do, we're going to take a single black band, and we're going to place our hook up through from the back to the front, around anywhere in the center of our wheel. And we're going to grab a hold of the single black band and pull it through. And then we want to place again from the inside to the outside, or the back to the front, whichever you'd prefer to call it, and pull it through to the back as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 bands, and on the 5th peg down from the top, actually I want to double these, so we're going to very carefully stretch them and double these, and then I'm going to take this and put it around the 5th peg down on the left side, like that. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other wheel, and somewhere from the back to the front, I'm going to go through my wheel, grab a hold of a single black band, pull it through to the front, and again I'm going from the back to the front, grab a hold of this single black band, pull it through to the back, and then I am going to carefully stretch these 2 bands and double them, and then I will take these bands and place them around the 5th peg going down on the right. And that will move my tire to the outside. And now we're ready to loop. And we're going to reach in and grab the top 2 brown bands underneath our cap band, and we will loop these to the right. The next 2 are going to loop to the left, and then we can loop up the left side, making sure we stay inside our holding band and that we're forming raindrop shapes as we loop to the peg above. And I'm going to loop up the center, and the right side. And I just realized I didn't finish attaching my connector bars for my loom. Don't want it to fall apart on me. Put one there, and I'll put one there. Okay, so we'll finish looping forward. And now I'm going to just loop straight up the center. Again, making sure I stay inside the holding bands. And when I get to the center, I can reach inside and grab the top 2 brown bands and loop those over to the right. And the next 2 go over to the left. And we can go back down, making sure we stay inside our holding bands and the black bands that are attaching our tire. And we can loop forward. And we'll continue up the left side. To the top. And we'll do the same thing on the right. Again, making sure that we stay inside the holding band and the black bands for our wheel, and that we're looping our raindrop shape as we go. There we go. And once we get to the top, we want to attach our slip knot bands. So we're going to reach our hook straight down through, grab a hold of our single brown band, and form our slip knot. We'll do the same thing for the other side. Reaching our hook down through, grab a hold of our single brown band, and form a slip knot. We also want to do the same for the center, because if you notice, these bands are not secured. So we are going to reach down through, grab a hold of a single brown band, and form our slip knot. And the reason I do this like this instead of looping to the center and only having one slip knot is because I want this as squared off as possible. And I find that, and you'll notice here on the bottom, that if I do loop to the center and only have one slip knot band here, it's a little bit more rounded. And because I want to avoid that for this chair, I'm just adding the 3 separate slip knot bands. So I'm just using my hook to pry these bands up off the loom. Okay. And obviously it's going to need a little tweaking. And the first thing I want to do is find where I've attached my tires. And what I want to do is take my hook and counting up 1, 2, 3 teardrops, I want to place my hook through all of these bands going across, and I'm just going to fold my chair in half and give a tug on the bands. And what that's going to do is kind of define my chair so that it looks more like a chair. And once I've secured these slip knot bands, you'll be able to see better what I mean when I say squaring off the ends. So I'm just going to grab a hold of my my fine crochet hook doesn't work very well for this. I'm going to grab a hold of my single brown band and just loop it through in a couple of spots to secure it out of sight. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, reaching through a couple of bands and weaving it through just to tuck these bands out of sight. Now, the one in the center I'm going to leave for now because I will probably use this to secure the back of the neck of my character so that he will stay in place. So, but in any event, here you have it. This is our wheelchair, and I will post this separately on YouTube as a separate charm, I guess. And you can do this, and you can also insert any character you like into the chair. If you happen to know somebody that is in a wheelchair, you could make a character of them. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I would really like to hear your comments, so please comment below and send me a picture if you decide to make this. I'd love to see your renditions of these. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you can be notified when I post a new video. And follow along with the rest of my character collections. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.